Hello, in this video I'm going to show you how to create a website using Carrd without using a template. So basically, if you see a website you like and you want to make a copy of it or you want to use it as inspiration, you'll know exactly what to do. So in this example, I found this website called bucketapp.com, and it has a nice design and it's one page, and it's something you can make with Carrd pretty easily. So I'll show you how I would make a website like this using Carrd. So let's start. We'll go to Carrd and then choose a starting point. And since we're not using a template, I'm going to click this button here. Cool. So the first thing I would do is I would click on this page setting, and I would change the style from default to wide box. And this is just so I have more control over everything. And I like to start from the top. And so if you see the width of this, it's pretty narrow. So I would go back to the page settings, and I put the width something like 80. Then I remove any horizontal padding, which is like this space. So I'll go back to the page, and I remove all the padding. Now this spans all the way. So that's the way I like it, so I can control everything better. Cool. So now let's do this top header. So the way I would do this one is I would come here and add a container. The reason for the container is so then I can use this columns and do 50% and 50%. This left side will have the logo, and this right side will have your Twitter link and anything else. So if I had a picture of a logo, I would use that, but for now I'll just make a link. And then I'll change the label to bucket. Then I would drag it onto the left column. And now for the right column, I would use these icons. And I would have one for my email, and then the other one would be for Twitter. And I would drag it on the right side. Cool. We don't need this top part, so I'm just going to click it and delete it. Cool. So now to make it more like this one, we should put this all the way to the left and the right side all the way to the right. So it's easy. Just click on the container so that you see container. And then on the left side one, for alignment, click on left. On the right side one, for alignment, click on right. Cool, let's see what else we have to do. So there's too much space in here. So let's go back to the page and also get rid of the vertical spacing, of the vertical padding. So you're going to see that this is going to get reduced. Cool. Now let's click on the container again. And we'll click on this brush. We're also going to get rid of some of the padding on the container. I think maybe here is fine. Cool. Let's see. Let's make this background color the same. So I'm going to pick the color, and I'm going to go back to the page and scroll down to where it says background. Change the color to the blue one. All right, now let's make the link to be white. So we'll click on the link, we'll click on the brush, and then we'll change it to white. We'll do the same thing for the icons. So I click on the icons, then I click on the brush and make it white. Cool, I don't want this underline beneath the link. So I'm going to change this to plain, and then I'll change the hover. I'll just set it to white. That should get rid of it, yeah. Cool, so now we have this top part done. Let's work on this section now. So we're going to have text, another text, a button, and a video. So let's start by adding that. So we'll have a text, another text, a button, and the video. Let's start with the top text. So I'm just going to copy from here and change it there. So this text is way bigger, so let's change the size maybe to that. I think that's fine. Then let's do the bottom text. We'll click back on this section and we'll just paste it. And let's add a new line here. Cool. The other thing I wanted to mention is this would be kind of like the main heading of the site, so that's what I'll change it to. And then this one here could be like maybe like a subheading or a paragraph. And now let's make the button yellow. So I'm just going to copy the color from the button. I'm using this Chrome extension called Color Picker. And it allows me to just choose the color. So I'll go to the button now, and then I'll change the background color to the yellow. And let's change the label to black. So as you can see, this button is a lot wider and has like rounded corners. So let's do that too. So let's go to this brush. We'll change the width maybe to here. And then to get the rounded corners, we'll do the corner rounding maybe to there. And let's change the label to say add to Chrome. So we'll go back to this section and we'll click on the button and we'll change the label. Cool, now let's work on the video. So I just have this random video. And I'll click on the video now and I'll change the type from upload to embed. And I'll paste it in there. So now this is looking pretty similar. We'll have to work on some of the spacing. So the spacing between the button and the text and the button and the video. So let's start with that. Let's click on the button and we'll go to the brush again. Scroll down to spacing and we'll add some spacing there. I think all the way probably. Let's try to add some spacing between this text and the top text and the button. So we'll click on that text, go to the brush, and we'll look for margin, and we'll add some. I think that's fine. And now let's make this video bigger. So we'll click on the video, click on appearance, we'll make the video maybe that wide. And we'll add some spacing between here and here, so that will be through the margin. And I think that's fine. Maybe we can add some spacing here too. So we'll click on the top text. And we'll also add a little bit of margin, maybe there. Cool. So now let's work on the other section. So these following sections all have 2 columns as well. So it's 2 columns here, 2 columns here, and 2 columns here. So we'll do that by using containers, because containers is the way you get more than 1 column. So I added the container, and now I'll click here and I'll change it from default to columns. Cool. So this container, as you can see, it's white background, not the page blue background. So we'll click on the container. We'll go to the brush and we'll change the background to color and set it to white. Cool, so let's work on the first column. So we'll have a little heading that says that. So we'll add a text. We'll drag it to the left box. And we'll copy the text. And we'll change the color to black. Then we have another text. So we'll add another text. We'll drag it underneath the heading. And then we'll change it to that. Cool, so this one is way smaller. So let's make it smaller. I think maybe that's fine. Yeah, and the header is also a little smaller. And we'll change that to a subheading. And the right side has a picture. So we'll add an image. we'll drag it to the right side. And then I have the images here, so I'll just drag it here. Okay, so now we'll click on the image and we'll try to make it the same height as this one. So we'll click on the brush and we're going to change the width to auto, which will then allow us to scale the image. And I think maybe that's a good size, maybe a little smaller. Cool. So now it's looking pretty similar, except this is aligned to the left side. So let's align it to the left side. So we'll click on the container, which will then show you the left and the right side. So for the left container, we'll align it to the left. And I think actually this container should be a little bigger. So let's click back on the container and change the left side to 40%. Cool, now we need some spacing between the left side and the text and the right side and your browser. So we'll click again on the container. And then we'll click on the brush and let's add some padding horizontally. So maybe all the way. Yeah, that's looking a little better. Now as you can see, the text is in the center. So let's put the text in the center. So click on the container again. Then click on the brush and scroll down to alignment and change it from top to center. And yeah, that's way better. So that's, now that we have this container, let's click it and replicate it twice. So now we have 3 of those same containers. So the middle one will have the image on the left side and the text on the right side. So we'll click on this middle container. We'll click on the container element and we'll drag the 40% under the 60%. Cool. So now let's change this image. So I'll use image 2. And then for the last column, the last container, I'll use image 3. And I just got these images by copying from the other website. And of course, I'm not going to use this website at all. So that's why I'm making a copy, because you shouldn't just copy a website. It's just for tutorial purpose. Cool, so now let's get rid of this blue. So this is caused by margin. So we'll click on the first container. We'll click on the brush. We'll scroll down to where it says margins. So let's change the bottom margin from auto to 0. Then we'll click on this container. And we'll change the margin from the top, because this is the top part, from auto to 0. Cool. We'll do that again for this part. So back to the margin. Change the bottom from auto to 0. And then this container, change the top margin from auto to 0. Okay, now that we got rid of the margins, let's add some spacing between each of the containers. So as you can see, there's a lot more spacing than what we have. So we'll click on the container again, and we'll change the padding of the vertical, which would be everything inside. So not outside the box, but inside the box. So we'll do maybe padding of 4.375. That looks good to me. We'll do that for all of them. Cool. You can of course change the text to match. I'll just do it for the last one because it also has a button. So for the last one, I'll add a little button. Actually, I'll delete this button because we already have a yellow button here. So we'll just make a copy. and we'll add it underneath the text. Cool. And this one says download Chrome extension. So I'll just write download. Cool, that looks good to me. The other thing is I saw the text is a little lighter. So we can do that by just copying the text, then changing the color to something maybe like that. I'm just going to copy it for now and use that same color on all of them. Awesome, now all we have left is this form and the footer. So for the form, we'll add another container. And inside that container, we're going to add a form. So keep in mind that the form is, you have to have the pro version of Card. So if you don't have the pro version of Card, then you can just skip this part. Cool, so let's try to use a very similar background. So once again, I'll grab the color from the page. Cool, as you can see, there's still a margin here. So let's click on the container and we'll change the top margin to 0. It already is, so it must be the bottom margin from here. And yes, it's auto, so let's change it to 0. Cool, and let's change this form from a contact form to a sign-up form. Now let's add a text here. So before the form, we should have a text. So we'll drag it before the form. We'll change the label. We'll make it white and we'll make it a lot bigger. Then we'll have another text. So we'll just add another one. We'll drag it underneath this one. We'll change the label again. We'll make it smaller. Let's see, then we have the little tiny text. So I'm just gonna duplicate this one and change the label and make this way smaller. Cool, that's looking pretty similar. I think there's too much space between these, so I'll grab one of them and I'll change the margin all the way down to 0. That didn't do anything, so we'll do it with this one too. And maybe with this one as well. Cool, I think that looks more similar. So now let's change the input to be the white color and the button to be yellow. So we'll click on the form, then you're going to go to the brush, then you're going to click on fields. You're going to change the style from outline to solid. And then you're going to change the text to be black, or actually be a light gray. And let's change this button to be the same color. So you can actually grab the color from here, go back to the form, click on the button, and change the background to the same yellow. And while we're there, let's change the label to be black. Cool, so that's looking pretty good. We can add more width to the button, so let's make it match the form. And let's change the text to secure my spot. So we'll click on this third tab and we'll change the label to secure my spot. Finally, let's work on the footer. So the footer is pretty simple. It's going to have a white background. It's going to have maybe two texts. I'm just going to skip this one and an icon at the bottom. So we'll add a container. Let's change the background to white. And we'll have a text. And the text will say just the name of the website. So we'll say Bukkit. It's white right now, so let's change it to black. Let's make the size a little bigger. Cool. So we'll have another text after that. We'll drag it underneath it. This one should say copyright. And the text is also smaller. Finally, we'll have one icon, which we'll drag underneath everything. We'll change the color to, let's make it like Twitter blue, and we'll change the type from email to Twitter. And that's it. As you can see, there's margin here as well, so let's get rid of that. So we'll click on the container. We'll change the top margin. It's already at 0, so that it must be the bottom one from this one. Cool. So all I did was I clicked on this container, and I got rid of the margin bottom. And that's pretty much it. What you should do now is, of course, you would update the links to go to your own things. You would update your icons, like for example, the Twitter one, to go to your own Twitter page. And of course, you would change the colors around. Video would be your video. Any images would be your own images, and the text would be your text. For the form, you can link it to your MailChimp, to any different of these email services, and let's publish this so you can see what it looks like. So for the title, I'll just write tutorial video. Same description. For now, I'll just publish it to car.co, and I'll just name tutorial1ed, and I'll publish it. So let's view the site. Okay, so this is what the site is looking on desktop version. So let's check it out on mobile. Maybe we have to do some changes. So let's check out the original one on mobile too. So let's make this button not as wide as the entire screen. So we'll go back here. We'll click on the button. We'll click on the brush again. We'll scroll all the way to the bottom where it says mobile. Then we'll click on manual. We'll change the layout from stack to default. And while we're at it, we'll change this view. Cool, and that basically did the trick, because when it's on stack, it goes all the way, but on default, it's like that. You can also control the width here. So I think that's good. The video should be a little smaller on mobile too, so we'll click on the video. We'll click on the brush and then mobile manual. We'll change the size, maybe that big. And I think everything else is looking fine. So I'll just publish it again, and I'll refresh this page. Yeah, I think that's fine with me. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial, and subscribe to my channel and let me know if you want other kind of videos with card. I hope this helps.